I have a problem. I love arts and crafts. Making a huge mess, one of my favorite things to do. But I also love playing on the computer. Of course, the problem is that these two occupations do not work together. When it's time to do arts and crafts, oh my god, there's computer stuff everywhere. And when it's time to do computer stuff, well, where do I put the arts and crafts? This problem, along with many others, we're gonna solve today on this week's episode of The Emil Show. The big issue is where to put the monitor. I can't put it on the table because there's crap on the table. Clearly, this monitor needs to emerge from somewhere. I considered from the desk. This is great, but in order for it to come out of the desk, there has to be a clear space on the desk for it to come out of. And again, we're not cleaning. So up, that is a no. Okay, well how about from the side? It could slide in on some kind of a rail. It could crane in on some sort of, I saw a YouTuber make something like this. I was thinking of doing that, but all of these options just looked a little bit clunky. I don't want it to be clunky. I want it to be seamless. I want it to be easy. Best case scenario is I don't have to leave my desk. I want to be able to achieve peak laziness here. The only remaining place where the monitor could emerge from is from above. And besides, it probably looks the coolest, so that's what we're gonna do. But how do I accomplish this? Levitation? Now, I had already begun building this workstation back in the summer, and I had this stupid idea where there were gonna be pull-up sides, and then I'd put a beam over top and the monitor. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think it was a terrible idea. I have a much better idea this time. Constructing the actual table, that was the easy part. You just need 4 legs, and you need beams, and you need a top on it, and it's one of the simplest woodworking projects you could possibly do. There are a few things, though, that were super important to me, like getting the height correct. As you can see, it is exactly 39 inches tall, perfect standing height. And then, when it's time to sit down, who needs a sit-stand desk when you can just buy a really tall chair? Why hasn't anyone thought of this before? Well, I guess they make the chair. Okay. Now here comes the fun part. Drilling into the ceiling sounded like a nightmare, so instead I decided to build kind of a little archway that goes up and creates a little ceiling below the ceiling, sort of like a second ceiling. This overhead setup had to be very, very strong, so I employed 2 techniques. Firstly, I made it out of portrait mode 2x4s, so instead of like this, where they're gonna sag and break, they're like this, so that there's a lot more, there's more mass for the downwards. I don't know, it hasn't fallen, so clearly I'm right. The other thing that I used to ensure that this whole thing didn't collapse on my unsuspecting head is a bunch of strong ties, so I'm not just relying on the power of screws. It was now time to hang the monitor, but not before I did some varnishing, because if you remember last episode, we finished sanding all the other furniture that's supposed to go in this room because I'm building my Dream Artist studio. Look at that luster. It really brings out the grain. I am so close to being done. Yay! And the next is time to install. There's gonna be one there, there's gonna be one there. As I varnished, the inner machinations of my mind swirled with creative thoughts. What if I hung the monitor from one of those photography scissor things? They use these all these times in studios. Why can't I use it in my studio? One of the most important features of an amazing workbench. A really good light. How am I supposed to hang a light if I have a monitor hanging from the top? What I thought originally was a problem turned out to be the solution I needed, because the monitor was so damn heavy, it would tip the whole thing forward. And it looked really sketchy, and I don't think it was safe. But if I added a light to the back of it as a counterweight, not only am I now balanced, but I now have some incredible top-down lighting for my dream workbench in my dream artist studio. It took a little bit of time to get it right. At first I used 2 lights, and it was way too much and way too bulky and way too huge, and I hated it. So then I toned it down, make a much smaller thing that the monitor mounts to, and also add some counterweight so I can get away with only using 1 light instead of 2.
Oh, that fucking rules. This is cool as fucking, yo.
And then I've got this light, and then I can hang a camera from here. I could do anything. I am super proud of this thing, and it's only one of so many exciting things that I'm going to be putting in this studio space in subsequent episodes. So get subscribed and like, and most importantly, come back Saturday for the next exciting episode. I'll see you there.